Hello and welcome to episode number 90 of Week in Review. And on this episode, it's time to review the best of the third quarter and look forward to the fourth quarter. 2019 so far has been a weird year, both as far as the games and the movies are concerned. As far as the game side goes, it's been one of those years, and this happens every once in a while, where a bunch of stuff comes out and none of it really clicks with me. To recap, so far my games of the year are Yoshi's Crafted World, The Occupation, and the Lego Movie 2 video game. And not that that's like a bad top list stuff, like everybody has stuff that speaks to them in very specific ways, but it's just kind of an example of like the Division 2 came out this year, people really like that. Resident Evil 2 came out this year, people really like that as well, and there's been a bunch of other stuff that just none of it's really spoken to me. Thankfully, the third quarter of the year bucked that trend a little bit, and we had actually like 4 or 5 really good games out of it, though technically one of them came out of the second quarter. It just was super late and I didn't get around to it. To recap what I was looking forward to, I picked Sea of Solitude, which was a great game. I picked Wolfenstein Youngblood, which was a huge disappointment, and I picked Control, which was a game that didn't really click for me, kind of sticking in the theme of the rest of the year of like, people really like Control. I thought it was not very good and had technical problems that made the already lackluster experience all the more frustrating. The good news is that I actually played all 3 games that I listed, and so that makes me not only 3 for 3 for the quarter, but 11 of 11 for the year, so big thumbs up on that. The other super positive thing about the third quarter was that there were a handful of games that came out that didn't have release dates, so I didn't put them on my like get hyped for it list. We saw the releases of games like Man of Medan, which I put on my like kind of like secondary mention list, where I wasn't super excited about it to put it in the top 3, but it was a game that I was very much looking forward to, and it was a game that I very thoroughly enjoyed. We also saw the console releases of Bus Simulator and Wreckfest, and we also got what is the best game of the quarter, Untitled Goose Game. I love Goose Game. It is so very good. If you watched the last episode, you'll know that I think it is an absolutely fantastic, funny, really well done puzzle game that is not only fun to play on your own, but is also really fun to watch other people play. It's kind of that rare game where, man, I had so much fun enjoying this, and then you watch other people and see how they do the puzzles and watch them get solutions that are different, and you're like, I never thought about that, and I loved it so very much. I also played a bunch of Super Mario Maker 2, which technically came out in June, but I didn't get to it until a couple weeks later. I really liked that game when I first started playing it, but I definitely fell off, and I really only used about 1/3 of the features in the game. It has a story mode, a creative mode, and those were not the areas that I really played. I just played other people's courses, which is the third of that game, and that was what I sunk the most time into. I enjoyed the time I had with it, but I haven't really gone back to it. And then Wreckfest and Bus Simulator are kind of in the same boat. Not only that they are console ports of PC games, but they definitely have technical problems with them, which brings the experience down for as much as I enjoyed both of those games, especially Bus Simulator. I really love that game. I just wish it ran better. So the overall game of the year list looks a little bit like this. It's Untitled Goose Game, Yoshi's Crafted World, Man of Medan, Bus Simulator, and Sea of Solitude. I thought Sea of Solitude was a really fantastic game, and all of these are really great. The only one that's missing on this list would be The Occupation, which would be in that like 6th spot, just slightly out of the top 5. All of these games are worth your time. Some of them do come with some technical problems. Bus Simulator, looking at you. But they're all really great. You would have also Wreckfest and Super Mario Maker 2 just kind of missing the cut. 2 games that I loved when they came out and just never went back to them. So what's next for the fourth quarter? I'm going to keep this list down to actually just 2 games. It was at 3, but then Doom Eternal got delayed to March of next year. And the 2 games that I wrote down are Concrete Genie and Outer Worlds. Both of those are October releases. There are a few like smaller games that would kind of fit in that like Man of Medan category of like, I have my eye on them, but I'm not the most excited for them. Return of the Obra Dinn comes out this week on console, and then you have stuff like Pokemon. Need for Speed looks kind of cool. There's a new Star Wars game, which wouldn't necessarily entice me, but for as much as I don't really care about the Star Wars movies, I play the games pretty consistently, and I think Star Wars is a fun universe to explore as a player. And this continues that sort of like, there's a bunch of games coming out this fall, but a lot of them just don't really speak to me. So it's hard to pick a large number of games and sit here and look at myself and go like, am I really going to play these? Like a lot of these, like I'm going to go out of my way to make sure I play Concrete Genie. I'm for sure going to play the Outer Worlds. But like if I miss Star Wars, it's not that big of a deal. If I miss Need for Speed, or if I miss any of those other games, I'm just not excited for them in a way that I have been for other games so far this year. And I'll be streaming a bunch of these games over on twitch.tv/Chanosaurus So if you want to come join in and see what I think about them live as they happen, you can watch that, and there will be a lot of reviews coming up on Weekend Review. For as odd as the game side of things has been, the movie side has been just as weird. Every quarter that I've done in review so far has had like a top 3 or 4 movies that are like unbelievably head and shoulders above the rest of what I've seen, and it's been just an odd gap to look at. On top of that, I don't actually know what the rankings are, because when I watched the footage back, because I didn't take notes properly before I recorded the episode, when I watched it back, I didn't actually give a really like solid top 5 list, at least that I could tell, and like that's not good when I'm watching my own video and I'm like, oh, was that really the top 5 that I had? I could have sworn I had it written down somewhere, but I couldn't find those notes. That's all in all a very long-winded way of saying that I had 7 movies competing for 5 spots, and I didn't make a definitive top 5 list at that particular point. We had stuff like Booksmart, Toy Story 4, Family, Rocketman, Shazam, Lego 2, and Us all vying for those spots, and we have another 4 this quarter that are going to round it out to 11 movies fighting for 10 spots. Even odder than me not actually writing any notes and not having a definitive list was the fact that the movies that I was looking forward to didn't come anywhere close to making the top 5 of the quarter. I was looking forward to stuff like Stuber, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is not a movie that I enjoy, The Kitchen, which was good but isn't anywhere close. It speaks more to that gap of like, I liked it, but there were 3 or 4 or 5 other things that were way above it that I enjoyed way, way more. I was also looking forward to Good Boys and My Spy. It gets even weirder because I actually missed one of the things that I was looking forward to with Good Boys, and that's the first miss of the year from either a movie perspective or a game perspective. And due to the fact that it is now like the 13th of October when I'm recording this, I have had plenty of time to go see Good Boys to make that fact not true and to like inflate my own ego of I didn't miss anything, it's not that big of a deal. But then My Spy just got delayed out of nowhere. I was looking at the movie release schedule towards the end of August, and I was like, I thought there was another movie that was coming out in August that I was looking forward to, and it got delayed until like January or February of next year, which is not a good sign for that movie at all, because January and February are typically when studios kind of just dump their crap out, because you have the hangover from the holiday season where they keep all of their best picture nominees, and then January and February are just a wasteland of garbage. Don't get me wrong, there are good movies that come out in January or February. We had stuff like Lego Movie 2, Get Out, Deadpool 1 in recent memory, but typically that's where the garbage goes. So I'm going to give myself a pass on that one, and I'm technically 3 for 4. Good Boys is still in theaters, so I can go see it and make sure that I am 4 for 4 and perfect on the year. So if none of those movies made the top of the list, what did? Well, it's a selection of truly fantastic movies. The Farewell, which is an artful, wonderful, magnificent, masterful movie that everyone should watch. The Peanut Butter Falcon, which is again another masterful, artful, fantastic movie that everyone should watch. The Art of Self-Defense, which is a movie that definitely speaks more to me and absolutely comes with a caveat of like, I loved it because it spoke to me. I don't know how well it's going to speak to other people, so like just know that. I don't know, I'm not always exactly sure how to translate that to you. It's the style of humor and the style of movie where I watched it and I walked out going like, that was a Sean-ass movie. That, I don't know how that translates to other people, but I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And then rounding out, we'll just leave it at 4 this quarter, was Ready or Not, which was a pleasant surprise. I had a couple of little minor hiccups here and there, but still a wonderfully enjoyable experience. So now we have our 11 movies, and how do they exactly stack up against each other? Well, I have my list looking like this. Number 1, still Booksmart, still love that movie. Recently watched it on Blu-ray, it's incredible. Number 2 is The Farewell, again, artful, masterful movie. Everyone should watch it. Number 3 is Toy Story 4. Number 4 is Peanut Butter Falcon. Number 5 is The Art of Self-Defense. Number 6 is Family. Both of those movies come with that caveat of like, hey, really worked for me. I liked the style of humor it was going for. I liked what they were doing. Don't know how well that works for like the general public, but they really spoke to me in a way that I thought they were absolutely fantastic. Number 7 is Rocketman. Number 8 is Lego Movie 2. And then we have 2 horror movies. What a surprise. Rounding out the top 10, number 9 is Us, and number 10 is Ready or Not. I'll let you decide which one of those movies that I listed earlier. It was Shazam that didn't make the cut. And then just outside that top 10 would be stuff like Brittany Runs a Marathon and Shazam. This whole movie section actually continues to get further complicated by what I'm looking forward to, because there are a lot of movies that they're going to have one release date that they're not going to explicitly say is like a limited engagement or in select cities in, and then 3 weeks later they'll make it here and I'll finally get around to it. So that would be stuff like The Lighthouse, Jojo Rabbit, and Honey Boy. And then we also have Dolomite Is My Name, which is a Netflix movie that I think is going to be at the local indie movie cinema that we have. They have a pretty good track record with having the theatrically released Netflix stuff. Whether or not that movie comes out day and date with Netflix is up in the air, but with the fact that this particular cinema had the Breaking Bad movie day and date when it released on Netflix, gives me a little bit of hope, and they've had some of the Netflix stuff, specifically Roma, in their theaters, not only fairly early, but also for a very long time. So the number of movies that I'm looking forward to will stay at 4, because it wasn't anything that I really felt was going to slide into that 5th spot nicely. These are 4 movies that I am a head and shoulders above, like, excited for, and you'll be able to watch reviews of them here on Week in Review whenever the hell they decide to make it to theaters near me. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Week in Review. If you like the content, scroll on down and hit subscribe. If you like the content enough, you can scroll on down and you can tell me what you think of my rankings and how everything plays out and what you're looking forward to in the months ahead. Be sure to head on over to twitch.tv/ShawnosaurusRex and check out the streams over there. And be sure to check back every Tuesday for more Week in Review. We'll see you next week.